Of CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona. Good to see you. And Republican strategist Rena Shaw. Always great to see you as well. Rena, Maria, let me start with you. It's a different convention than anyone thought a few months ago. How complicated is Biden's message going to be tonight? A month ago, he was at the top of the ticket. Now he's passing the baton.
Oh, I don't think it's complicated at all, Rahel. Different, for sure. I think that there's a lot of emotion involved, that's for sure as well. You're right. A month ago, this was a very different ballgame, and expectations were very different as to what kind of convention this was going to be. But I think what you have seen in this last month, Rahel, is who President Biden is at his core. And there's no question that it has been difficult, that there are a lot of emotions going through what he's going to have to do tonight. But you also see who he is in his DNA, and that is the consummate public servant, the person who always puts the good of the public, the good of American voters, the good of this country first and foremost. And that's exactly what he's doing tonight. He is also keeping a great promise that he made when he first ran for president in the 2020 cycle, and that is that he was going to serve to be a bridge to the next generation. Tonight is the physical, metaphorical, literal, everything building of that bridge as he passes on his legacy to Kamala Harris as someone who is a historic figure who will most likely ascend to be president of the United States. And that will be his doing. So he can leave here. He's going to get a hero's welcome, no question. He can leave here incredibly proud of his accomplishments, of what he did for this country, taking it out of a historic pandemic, restoring the economy, restoring protections of our democracy, our rights and freedoms. And now he's going to hand that over to Kamala Harris, who can take this to the next level. And the excitement here and across the country is palpable.
And Rena, if you're a Republican candidate or the Republican candidate for president, I mean, the DNC is going to dominate the airwaves this week. What are you doing in response? How do you get any attention this week with so much focus on Chicago?
I think today, on day one of the DNC, there's a great frustration amongst the Republican political class, not just inside the Beltway, but across the country, because it's as if the past 2 weeks have been a real dismal showing of attitude. It's not positivity and rainbows you're hearing from the Republican side. The showing from the right has been lackluster. It's been non-charismatic. It's been not filled with hope. And that is what we're going to get the visual imagery of out of the Democrats for the next 4 days. So there really isn't countering that in any way other than just saying that the moment is what it is. Let the Democrats say what they need to say. As a political strategy, what Republicans can try to do is offer up some degree of solutions with what they hear coming from the podium in Chicago. Different speakers will be casting a vision for what they think America should be in the next 4 years. If Republicans want to have any hope, again, of looking like a positive party, looking like a forward-thinking party, looking like a solutions-oriented party, then they ought to be responding mano a mano, which means taking it issue by issue. We all know there are hugely consequential issues at whatever demographic you're looking at, for whether it's Gen Xers or Gen Zers. There's housing, there's immigration, there's economy, and not least of all, reproductive care access. And so if we hear Republicans try to give a better, more hopeful vision, that's the only way they can counter, again, this very charismatic, hope-filled vision that will be coming from Chicago.
And we're going to actually dig into the economy and immigration in just a moment with my next guest. But Maria, what are you watching for when Kamala Harris speaks? And, you know, it's hard to miss as the three of us talk here. I mean, she's making history. We are all women of color here. What are you going to be listening for, Maria, both in terms of the historic nature of her speech and her ascending to this role, but also, does she create any distance? Does she need to create any distance between her and Biden?
Yeah. I don't think she needs to create any distance between her and Biden, Rahel, because I think the huge miscalculation that Republicans are making is that they think that Biden's economic policies are unpopular, and they are not. He perhaps was unpopular, but Biden's economic policies were hugely popular with American voters, and they have polled off the charts over and over and over again. The $35 insulin cap, hugely popular. The $2,000 cap on prescription drugs that was just expanded, hugely popular. The Affordable Care Act that Biden and Harris made even more accessible to millions more voters, hugely popular. The student debt forgiveness, hugely popular. So she will absolutely not distance herself from any of those accomplishments. What she will do, 16 million job creation, hugely popular. But what she will do, Rahel, is that she will talk about some additional policies where people feel them the most, where the higher cost of living at the grocery store, at the gas tanks, in housing markets, with rents, with mortgages, which is what she has already announced. She's going to be talking about policies that people feel really, really relevant. And in that way, I think that she's going to give voters this notion that she is working for them. She is fighting for them. She is fighting for the solutions that Rena was just talking about, that apparently Donald Trump is absolutely incapable of, and frankly does have no interest in talking about, because every time he gets in front of a microphone, Rahel, he can only insult Kamala Harris. He only talks about the politics of fear, of division, this dark vision of the country that has absolutely no station in reality at all. And I think that contrast with Kamala Harris, with what we're going to see in her speech, she is focused and her foundation is in the politics of joy and in the politics of solving the problems that Americans see right before them. I think that is going to be what brings her to victory in November.
And Rena, I'll give you the last word here, but why do you think that is? I mean, I hear Maria say that some of these policies from Biden are hugely popular. He himself may not have been. But I mean, when you look at polling, it's Trump who gets more credit when it comes to the economy. It's Trump who many people think the economy was better under. We can talk about the data a different day. But why do you think he spends so much time attacking Harris when he does actually have this issue, which voters seem to favor him on, and which many voters say is their top issue?
Well, the Republican class in Washington is really frustrated with Trump right now because he doesn't speak in specifics. But that's actually quite ironic, because Trump thinks he does best when he doesn't speak in specifics. We saw last week with that press conference he did from his Bedminster golf club, a place that most people cannot access. He did this conference where he could have talked again about the data, about what a plan he has to make the economy more robust, to counter what they call Bidenomics from the right. I didn't hear any specifics again, but he believes that he can keep attacking Harris because she's running this campaign on vibes. And that's been talked about a great deal. People say you can't win an election based on vibes. I push back and I say it's going well so far. But I'm thinking past these next 4 days, Rahel. I'm thinking, what is the strategy when they start to talk, and they meaning Harris Walz, about their next 4 years? And this last week, we got a little glimpse of that when they talked price controls. And suddenly the right was inflamed. They said that's Soviet talk, that's communist talk. They started painting her as a communist. So see, that's Trump's way of needling, meddling, poking the bear, if you will, to activate the right against her. And he thinks that's a strategy that will be most successful as we roll past Labor Day and into the thick of the campaign, which will be September, October. So I would just say some free advice to the Harris Walz campaign: continue to behave like moderates, continue to campaign like moderates, because all that the right and Trump have right now is trying to paint out this ticket, this Democrat ticket, as too progressive and too liberal to conquer the consequential challenges we see America facing today, whether it's economy, immigration, or any other kitchen table issue.
I want to actually focus on the economy now, so I'm going to let both of you go. Maria Cardona, Rena Shah, thank you both so much. Maria, have a great time in Chicago. Great city. I'll see you soon.